Here's a little video chat that I had with Electric Chris just recently, where he was going through his presentation at the Everything Electric show in Sydney. And so we had a discussion about it. His video is up on his channel. Search YouTube for Electric Chris, and here it is on my channel.
Let's talk about how we can actually have a better conversation around electric vehicle myths. And first up, all right, why is this a thing? And first and foremost, there's a lot of misinformation out there about electric vehicles, right?
Oh, Murdoch.
It doesn't matter. Murdoch media, for sure.
Yeah.
Tabloid media, the free-to-air news channels, websites that actually purport to be news services that turn out aren't. And then people actually listen to it and watch it and really enjoy it. And then they have this realistically self-fulfilling prophecy, or they work in a vacuum, and that's all they hear. They hear about the electric vehicle fires, the batteries that explode, the cost to the environment, the impact to the environment of the electric vehicle. And it's all it all works to actually slow down the adoption of electric vehicles. And as we're seeing in other countries that are further ahead than we are, because right now in Australia, we are still in the early phases. There are countries now hitting 30, 40% pretty much on average, if you want to average it out. Norway's an exemplar here, 96, 97%, they're almost there. This is for new car sales, by the way. We're not talking about secondhand market changeover sort of stuff. And it's just, I think, it's very difficult for people to, I think, hear the right news or hear it the right way, because their circle, the stuff that they listen to, their friends that they talk with, their family, that's all they hear, just the negative stuff. So what can we do to sort of counter that, right? And so there's the usual misrepresentation, the exaggeration. And so like this conversation I had today, and I'll be curious, Nigel, what your conversation was. The person cited about electric vehicle fires and them exploding. And I was thinking to myself, when was the last time that was in the news? I was thinking it. I didn't ask it. It was definitely playing in my brain. And what was this person saying to you, Nigel?
You'll be pleased. My son's bought a hybrid.
Mm.
That's the worst of both worlds. No. He's very pleased with it. And I go, yeah, well, he doesn't know much, does he? Yeah. I just went, because they're a friend. So, yeah, let's just leave it at that.
We'll just keep moving on.
Yeah.
And, we need to remember, like, it doesn't matter what the media source is, there's a revenue stream behind it. And so they're creating titles, they're making stories, sometimes they're making up stories.
Making them
to get views. Yeah, they do it to make views. So even though when you actually dive into the story, whether you might learn about, let's say some fires, they burnt down a whole car park and destroyed a ferry, and someone in Timbuktu lost a lamb, because of the EV fires. It all just kind of, people just, they read the first paragraph and they're like, oh yeah, that happened. And then they go talk about it with their friends, and it perpetuates, right? So I want you to remember that, folks. Just remember what we're saying here, okay? And so there's always these personal anecdotes. I know somebody, my mate, he's blew up. I kid you not, this was the conversation today. That I can't begin to even do this electric vehicle in my car, because I need to be able to go from Melbourne to Sydney in one go without stopping. We've heard that one before. And obviously,
excuse me, my bladder won't last that long.
Nor mine, and nor should anyone be driving for that long and staying safe, right?
Yes.
And we can, as electric vehicle owners, we can always talk to the truth and what we know. But it's again how we shape that conversation, how we actually have a respectful conversation, and make sure it's a dialogue, not just a monologue. I've been guilty of that plenty of time, because you just know this so wrong, and you just like, I want to just come here and squeeze you. It's really painful. And they don't realize the benefits, like really, really cheap fuel bills. So,
it's just,
we could go on for days, night. We really could, yeah.
Yeah.
And invariably, maybe not right now, but maybe in the very, very near future, there will be that electric vehicle can drive you from Melbourne to Sydney without you need to stop. In fact, it actually probably is around today, but is it available in Australia? Probably not. Probably not, but it's close. It's close.
They're in
Um,
China.
yeah, right. So they're the ones, FYI, they're the ones with both solid state battery and also lithium ion batteries. And so, they do two different options. One actually gets the car up and going. The other one is for the cruising sort of stuff.
Yes.
And yes,
I'm actually a bit upset that
mm,
my car charges so fast. I've done a few trips out to Kalgoorlie, which is about 700 kilometers. So I've got to
yeah.
stop a couple of times for a bladder break, and my
Yeah.
car's app's whinging at me that it's full. Go and move it. I'm going, I haven't finished yet.
All right. I'm with you. I'm so with you. So what works and what probably doesn't, that's probably key. This next session is about what actually doesn't really work, okay? You can talk until you're blue in the face. You really can. And it doesn't get through. Now, why might that be? Yeah. And I kind of alluded to it before that, if you ever say to somebody straight off the bat, hey, you're wrong, what do they do? Straight up, they're like, oh, I'm not listening to you. You're personally attacking me, my beliefs, and all my friends' beliefs, and my family, and the media that I trust in falsely, and that they just see you as actually, misinformed, defending something that should not be defended. In fact, is so very, very wrong. It shouldn't be a thing in the world. And so, if you talk about it till you're blue in the face, about the economic benefits of it, how long batteries actually do last, like the Tesla Model 3 S that in Australia, what, 666,000 kilometers before it was changed. That's
Yes.
that's on Fully Charged Live, that one. Hello. Okay.
Yeah.
And just how safe they are,
I
like
will
the
give
fire thing.
MSM a thing here that recently, when that battery longevity test results were published, they actually mentioned it, that people don't realize how long EV batteries last. Next subject.
Yep, exactly. And it's buried down low in the article,
It
right?
was buried down in the article,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Borrow the lead
it
is
was
classic.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you can talk about stuff to your blue in the face, but it's about, again, how do you actually have that conversation? And there's this thing, the illusory truth, okay? And this is what I've been guilty of and what in the last year I've been trying to correct. And that is repeating these myths. And it's very hard to not talk about them. And I appreciate for the last 5-10 minutes we've been talking about them, but we're talking about EV myths here, so forgive us, folks, forgive us.
But at least we're not like that meme with the guy sitting at the computer and going, darling, come here. I've discovered that those 1,000 scientists are all wrong. And it's on Facebook. The one guy.
Exactly, right? And,
Yeah.
I love, what's an expression that I love, Kath Davies, my fellow plaintiff for the High Court case. What'd she say? It's a very famous expression. The truth, a lie will travel around the world before truth has even got a chance to put its shoes on, right?
Yes.
And it's so very, very true. Okay, so appreciate the fact that someone's said a mistruth around electric vehicle fires causing, all these other fires. Okay, it actually turns out to be the exact opposite, but just it gets out there, yeah. And so, if we, as people who are either talking with friends and family, or if you're posting on social media, or if you're making video content like this, doesn't matter what the format is, if you're repeating the actual misinformation, it actually reinforces it with the person. And that's a very important point we need to remember. So when you acknowledge someone who's talking to you about, I hear about these electric vehicles that always having fires, you don't repeat it back to them. You might be saying, oh, that's interesting. Where did you hear that? Or you might say, well, in my experience, but again, do not repeat it back to them because, typically when you have a conversation with someone, you might sort of repeat the myth somehow in the conversation, but you've got to really think quite hard about not repeating it because this illusory effect, again, people just like, mental shortcuts. They don't want to have to rethink, rewire their brain, because that takes a lot of effort. And so far, they've been indoctrinated with all these different channels, all these different media formats, telling them that actually quite the opposite. And here you are repeating it potentially, and you're going to just reinforce it. So important. Don't repeat the misinformation. Okay.
That's very hard to do.
It is. It is. And when I at the moment I'm trying to also do a little bit of a shorter series around videos about the basics of electric vehicle charging, and it was difficult for me to not say that there was this I think it was on the panel, not the panel, what they call it now. It's evolved to something else on Channel 10. It's like a semi-news.
Watch TV.
Yeah. Not what I don't watch free-to-air TV. It's on Channel 10. Used to be called The Panel, and it was
Yes,
the
I've
classic
heard of
comedians.
that.
Yeah, the classic comedians from yesteryear, from the comedy shows, and they get a guest on, and they do some news and current events. I don't know what I said, and they also will be talking about some hot topics and doing a bit of a deep dive. It wasn't bad TV. Now it's definitely sensationalized stuff. And
It's clickbaity stuff.
It is, right? And then last year they had a guy on who didn't even own an electric vehicle, and he said, I kid you not, something like, to get an electric vehicle charger, it's going to cost you $10,000, just to get one installed in your home. And I'm summarizing what he said, but literally that's what he said. And did I want to make a video to debunk it? But I was like, no, Chris, you cannot repeat the misinformation,
Well, you can buy a Tesla charger from Tesla for $850, and then it's whatever it costs to install to get the 32 amp or the 3-phase 16 amp cables to it.
Yep, exactly. So again, we have to be really, really conscious, no matter if you're an influencer, a politician, a news anchor, or even just, me, just took it out in the bigger, wider world without the, whole sort of, angry man on EV sort of stuff. We have to be really conscientious to not repeat the myth, and that is really a difficult thing to do. So, what does work? All right, here we're getting into the nuts and bolts of it. Okay, I honestly thought about adopting some of the tobacco industry's tactics because you know what, they actually work. I'll just mention some of them here because.
Can I just go for a smoko now?
Yeah, no, you cannot, Nigel.
I don't smoke. It's all right.
No, nor I. But the tobacco industry, to start off with, and even the fossil fuel industries mimic the same things. And we could do the same too, if you've got time. So actually, if you're a viewer out there, comment below, or if you know of somebody who could please do this, we need you to go do a few different things. First of all, we need to create uncertainty about, let's say, electric vehicles. So what do? You fund studies into, how electric vehicles actually cause harm, and, the CO2 impact is quadruple what they say, and charging from the grid in Australia is really, really bad. And you publish a scientific paper that looks legit. And then, of course, the media will pick up on it. Okay. So if you could get that sort of stuff going, that'd be awesome. Okay. The next thing we could also do, and this is what I was thinking of doing, was creating both a YouTube website as well as a web page, and its sole purpose was to report on petrol car fires.
I'm liking this idea.
Right? Yeah. And
how expensive diesel is.
Yeah. Look. Unfortunately, and at late at night when I should be in bed, I might start watching YouTube and get to the darkest corner of YouTube, and I'll be watching Dashcam Australia's, whatever it's called. People like watching disaster and fires and things just going wrong for other people. I could make a YouTube channel about that. A react video. You and me, Nigel, we'll do react videos. Oh my gosh. Oh, I hope it was all right. Oh my gosh. I think it was all right. Do you know the sort of garbage that people do these days, right? Those react videos is probably, I do not I have no respect for your react videos. I really don't. Anyway, so if you could go and do that and create what looks to be a legit, news source And a YouTube page, I thought about calling it Revolution, and it was actually just going to be circulating news and media about the thousands of cars in Docklands that aren't going to anyone because no one wants to buy them. You get the tone here, right? So you need to actually pump up the misinformation about petrol and diesel cars. Oh, sorry, you have to pump up the problems with them. You have to amplify them, because when people hear that more, we change the narrative. And then when we discombobulate people and we confuse them, they start questioning the media. They'll go, oh, but hang on, that Revolution website that I'm subscribed to and that gives me the awesome news source that I love, they said this. So maybe electric vehicles are safer. You know, so that's one method. So if you could do some publishing of scientific papers, awesome. Create some false websites, awesome. Create uncertainty and doubt, all that fear stuff. Classic tobacco industry, fossil fuel industry. That'll be awesome. Okay. But remember, it's always got to be about, fossil fuel cars. Okay. All right.
There's health risks and statistics there. 4 million early deaths a year, purely attributable to what comes out of your exhaust.
Yep.
And 4,000 of those are in Australia. Early deaths.
And
preventable deaths.
Yeah. And what's Jim Frydenberg's name? Yeah, that's his name, the treasurer for the federal government. Suggesting thank you. What was I talking about? Anyway, talking about potential road user charge, which is not for this video. But anyway, I did a little bit of research and updated my figures around, the subsidies that we give out, but also the health costs, the actual budget cost that we continue by keeping petrol diesel cars. It's now $6 billion in Australia. Every year we spend $6 billion a year on healthcare related to the air that we breathe. And when cars contribute most of that, guess what? Anyway, I'll get off my high horse for a second.
$14+ billion going in subsidies to the fossil fuel industry. So that totals over 20 billion Australian dollars
every year, which surpasses by a factor of 4 the amount of money that we actually get from the tax raised through, the excise tax.
Yeah, that's for the roads, isn't it?
No. It's general revenue, mate. It's general revenue.
Just stirring.
Your cancel rates pay for roads, just because they actually make 90% of our roads that we drive on. So what we need to be doing. Okay, first up, don't address the actual myth. Don't redress it. Try not to say it. Talk about the actual facts and keep it positive. Ask them questions. Inquire as to where they've heard it, and make them start to actually question themselves. Why they think, whatever it might be. And if we are always on the same page and we're always talking about the benefits and the positives, I'm saying the same thing, I know. People will actually progressively change their opinion. And by demonstrating, hey, invite them over, come for a drive in my car, see what it's like, you'll love it. It's an easy sell for people who live in a home in Australia, like they have access rather to a plug, from their house, say, so they've got off-street parking, they've got a garage, they can plug in at home. Tell them there's these electric vehicle plans. It's free energy from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day. It's maybe very, very cheap overnight.
No, not over here in Western Australia.
Monopoly,
yes.
Monopoly. South Australia, weirdly, duopoly. And ironically also, South Australia is almost always running on 100% renewable energy, which is the cheapest form of energy.
Yes.
And they export a good proportion of it every single day. And the poor residents are like, we're paying so much for electricity. Please don't give it out. Don't give it out. We will use it. We will use it. I promise we'll use it. So anyway. So yeah, keep your messaging positive, right? And like I mentioned earlier, first and foremost, don't tell them they're wrong. Okay. I'm active on social media just insofar as I look at it maybe once or twice a day. I read a lot. I look at comments a lot. I don't participate a lot. And the reason is it's a vacuum. It's a vacuum. So the moment you either try to correct somebody, it becomes this, you know, conversation like this. You know, that's not actually true. You're talking
That's a
to a
brick
wall.
wall. Yes.
You're
Yes.
talking to a wall. And it's not going to be a very nice conversation potentially as well, because people just the barriers are very different. They've got the comfort of their own home, and they wouldn't actually say it to you, to your face, if you were there in front of them. And so I try not to actually engage in a little bit of reply tit-to-tat, you know, a little bit of a hey, come on. No, I don't do it. I don't do it. So the best thing you can do is you state your facts, you keep it positive, and you leave it. And if they reply to you, leave it. You're not going to win. That psychologically, they're going to walk away, even though you know you're right and they know they're wrong. They're not going to admit it. They're just going to say, "I'm right. Thank you very much." Have you experienced this, Nigel? Have you experienced
Oh,
this?
no, yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So again, actually have a dialogue, ask questions, keep it positive, be nice. You know, don't ever tell someone that you know, the uncle who heard about the exploding batteries is so terribly wrong that they, you know, he should be shot, hung, drawn and quartered. Jeez, that was pretty savage, Chris, but you get the idea. So that's basically the tips that I can give you. So what I'll try to do is I'll leave a link below to a web page rather, that the Australian Electric Vehicle Association has got that can help you. It's a little bit of a toolkit. Have a look at it. It's more about the conversation you might want to have with your federal member this year, because, you know, it's election year, about having conversations to encourage electric vehicle uptake. But nonetheless, there's a good slide in there that actually talks about, hey, here's some things you should say. Here's some things you should never say. Okay. So today what we've touched on is basically things you shouldn't say. Or is it more what you should say? I don't know.
We've been saying them, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope that's been helpful, and yeah, I think it'd be fun to talk about you know, the myths. Well, when I'm in that panel, I'm going to try to talk about this sort of stuff, be about having the better conversation, because again, you know, I've been on other panels in the past where we talked about the vehicle myths, and we rehash the same old stuff, right? I mean, we all know how good they are. We all know how clean and green they are.
Yes, we are on the other side of the fence. We know, we see the science behind it. They're seeing what's on Facebook and on the news and so on. So that they've got a completely different viewpoint to ours. And I can see where you're coming from there. Don't keep repeating the FUD. Just say, really, where did you hear that? It sounds a bit condescending, actually.
Depends how you coin it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so you know, it's like, oh, my experience is actually very different, and you go on from there. There's different ways you can segue into it. Yeah. I forget what the term is. You know, for our High Court Challenge, we had a little bit of media training, and I was very interested to learn the tactics that basically politicians use, how they deflect questions they don't want to answer.
We've got
bridging.
We've got a state election coming up on March the 8th while I'm in Sydney. So I've just done a postal vote. And we've just had a TV interview with the leader of the Labour and the Liberal Party. And they were so good at not answering the question and deflecting. I just sat there going, which is the better one at deflecting the question? I'm not going to vote for them.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, and I'm just looking at that going, that takes practice doing that.
It does, yes. It does. And I just remember the technique. It's called bridging, by the way. So if, let's say, they say something really far-fetched and just extraordinary, and, you know, then I don't know what it might be, it doesn't matter. You might want to have a ready sort of statement, and it goes something like this. You're like, oh, well, that's a really great question, and blah, 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 just a few little words, and then you bridge over to what you want to say. You change the topic altogether. You know, it's
Sounds
called
like
bridging.
Trump.
That all politicians do it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know. So yeah, and you know, it's always great if you can back it up with data somehow. Mentioning authoritative bodies instead of actually that person they know on Facebook. That's generally helpful as well. Um, and yeah, offer them up. Like, you know, my street is a good example, I think, of what's happening in Australia right now. And I don't think it's because of me. I'd like to think it's me, but I don't think it is. We were here in 2014. We got our first electric car in 2020, 2022 for the Model Y. Yeah, yep. And anyway, guy across the street, he came with a Model 3 very soon after the pandemic. And then the other person down the street, they've now got a Volvo XC30, I think it is, or 40, whatever it is. And another electric car. Person down the street's also now got an electric car. And so what's happening is that people around this little court that I live in, they're like, hey, they're driving electric vehicles and they're happy. And we're not seeing tow trucks arrive and pull them away. So it can be very organic sometimes, but just by offering up people, you know, like when I do get a car to show off and, you know, have a little bit of play around with, I invite people. If I see a neighbor walking on the street, it's like, hey, come and look at this. Come and look at this. So right now I've got the Kia EV5 in the garage. And so over the weekend, I'll be sort of, you know, getting it prepped and ready for filming. And if a neighbor walks past, it's like, come and look, come and look. This is actually a $57,000 car. Look at this. 400 kilometers. Awesome. And just slowly but surely, they're going to get it. They're going to get it. But it takes time. It takes time.
Yes, I will agree with that.
Yeah, right. So I think, you know, it'd be good if you could go to the Everything Electric show. You know, be really awesome opportunity. And again, I think sometimes people are like, why would I bother paying to go test out electric vehicles that I can just go to a, you know, car yard and test drive? And my answer to that is very, very simple. For the cost of, I think, $35, you can test drive about 10 different electric vehicles in the one afternoon. Or you could spend the next 3-4 weeks going to different car dealerships, having the pressure sales tactics from people who you don't really want to have in your car. And you're like, I'm just kicking tires today. Can I just walk away now, please? Oh no, but if you buy today, I'll throw in some car mats. You know, we've all heard it, right? So,
Yes.
you know, time is money. Time is money, folks. Anyway, and I just think it'd be a fun thing to do on a weekend or Friday if you've got a day off work.
No, I remember last Everything Electric show in Sydney a year ago. You and I were out test driving many different cars, and it was just, you know, excellent. The Hyundai Ioniq 5N, the Kia EV9, the GWM Aura, and just it was a mind-blowing experience. And you know what? They were all bloody good.
Exactly right.
And there'll be even more this year.
There is. There is. Absolutely there is.
And you can actually book a test drive right now.
Yeah.
If you go onto the website. Because I haven't booked any yet. I better go and do that.
You better go do it. Book it.
Wait, everybody. Log on tomorrow and do it when I've had a chance to.
Okay. Cool. All right. So yeah, I hope this video's been helpful to you. And if it has, you know, give us a thumbs up. Share this video to friends who you think would actually this will be helpful for them as well. I'll leave links to, you know, my videos as well as Nigel's that we've done with those test drives and also what the experience of going to Everything Electric show is like. If you see me there, say hi. I don't bite. I might smell, but I don't bite. Nigel, he might bite. Oh God. Oh wow, this is scary, man.
Just don't find me when I'm really grumpy, all right?
Yeah, exactly. And if I've got time and I'm really, really nice, I might take you for a spin in the ice too. Yeah, let's do that. Nigel, I'll see you in Sydney next week, mate. All right. Thanks again, Nigel. Link to these videos below.
Right. Yeah.
And again,
thank you very much, Chris.
See you soon.
See ya.
Bye.
There you go. I thought that was quite interesting, actually, because I've always, when someone said something, you just want to hit them sometimes. But this is an interesting concept that we might have to take on board a little bit more. So thank you very much for watching. Now don't forget, like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Really does help the channel. Now, also I do keep mentioning my Ko-fi page. There are going to be some more private videos going up on there. So do keep checking in there. Thank you very much, and I'll see you all very soon.